family, or with my dad, my brother-in-law, and my buddy. It was like 68 degrees. Tennessee's crazy, bro.
It is
It
pretty
was, wasn't it in the 70s around here a couple days ago?
Yeah,
That
last
sounds
week.
right. I bet it was gorgeous. We are supposed to get some pretty bad weather in the next couple weeks, but I'm not too worried about it.
You know, I usually absolutely love the cold, but at this point, I'm ready for it to warm up just a little bit,
Yeah,
just to make riding a little bit better.
it's hot.
There we go. Had to find the channel. Okay, we are
You
live.
turning into Kenny?
No, we're live. Damn it, Tyler. No, we're live. Damn it, Tyler. Just trying to ball out with my bros. Just trying to
vibe for a second.
Just trying to ball out with my bros.
Just trying to vibe for a second.
Oh no. That delay's horrible.
Alright, that's on ultra low latency. Okay, let me.
Can you guys hear me okay, or do I need to get closer?
I can hear you perfect, but I have you guys adjusted where you need to be, but Tyler needs to adjust us. That's the important thing.
I think that
He's
you should get a
recording.
little closer, Hunter. Just a little closer.
How's this?
Just a little closer.
Do you like this?
Still.
Is this what you wanted?
That is what
Tyler, that was such a comfortable position for you.
it was.
Tyler, you're so used to this.
Very
Oh
good.
no! Damn, that caught me off guard. I can't even hear you right now.
Let me close this. I'm embarrassed. You shouldn't have seen that.
Is that embarrassing?
That was embarrassing for me. Okay,
Yeah.
we're podcasting.
You know,
We're doing the thing that we're supposed to do, and I appreciate you guys for coming out. And if you guys are ready, I'm down to kick this thing off to our audience of 75 people.
Let's do it.
75 people?
Yeah,
It's
well,
because the cat's in this one.
I liked it myself, so I think it's gonna. One watching now. I'm sure that's not me. So, I wanted to get back to the things that I'm very nerdy and very passionate about, and I hope that you guys are okay with indulging me in my nerdiness, and I will get very excited. I'll get frazzled. We'll cry, we'll laugh. It's going to be a good time, and I want to kick it off just by asking, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Work's going good. Life's going good right now. Been, honestly, I went to the doctor like a month ago and, got some medication that I think is helping me out a lot, making me a lot happier. So I feel like things are going pretty good right now.
Nice. Glad to hear it, man. Taking health seriously.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Alex? How you been?
It's just good to hear that they legalized weed inside your state.
Did that happen?
I don't know. I'm just like...
Oh,
so
apart from
funny.
that.
Good, man. Things have been good. I mean, the new year's crazy. We just got a buddy back at work that used to work there, and he's actually just one of my good buddies. You know, he was one of the dudes in the wedding, one of the boys in green. So, it was John
Okay.
from the wedding. So, you probably met him at some point, but
Oh, yeah.
it's been fun. It's been fun having him around. The things are so busy, man. Everybody's just like focused on their own thing, just trying to get the job done. You know, there's so many different crazy tasks that are coming in daily, and it's a weird thing for us because, you know, this isn't normally the big growth period for us. January is a weird time for you to start growing in a business where your biggest sales are in December, you know?
Mhm.
Like, we're selling huge amounts of random things right now that... Anyway, listen.
Is it just not to forecast?
I think that they thought that it was, but I mean, we kind of based it on, like, you know, the workflow from last year around this time. It just
Right.
felt like this is a very busy January for us, and so we're all just like, holy moly! Hopefully, the summertime's gonna take it easy on us, you know. But it's been crazy. It's been good. Hunter, I'm glad that you've got your So, I'm a big advocate for mental health and stuff like this. I'm just curious. Um, so you said it's been helping you. You've been sleeping better. You've been, more relaxed and stuff like this, or what
Yeah,
kind
I
of?
feel like
Not to get. You don't have to answer this. Also, I'm just curious.
no, my anxiety was getting really bad for a little bit, and that has almost completely gone away.
Ooh,
And that in itself just feels so much better.
nice.
Nice.
I'm good to hear. That's super good to hear, man. I love to hear that. That can really hinder and cripple stuff like that. But it's just a lot
Yeah,
of.
it was
It's
pretty
a
rough there
it's
for
a
a
tough
little
world.
bit,
I
but
just if somebody listens to the podcast and you got some things, don't be afraid to reach out because mental health awareness, anxiety, all this sort of thing, very important to all of us, and it's a big part of why we're all friends and stuff like that. So
and it's so much
it's nice to
easier
look
now
at.
to have access to that kind of
Mhm.
like healthcare,
Yeah,
and you can have access too with the help of BetterHelp.
better help.
Today's a good segue.
Sorry.
Something I do think about is like while we don't have a big viewership now here, I think that something that's very cool is that this podcast, these videos that we create, I mean, will outlive us. And there's the very real possibility that while we're going on Ancestry.com to find out who our great grandparents are, our great grandchildren will view this podcast and say, who was this dude who made my mom's mom? That's something I think about. And then I say some off the wall shit.
It's gonna be so weird
Yeah.
because this technology will be like what the VHS is to us.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Or
I
even
mean,
older, but
man, it might by the time that our kids are to our age, it's gonna be. I think it might be a little crazier than that. Unfortunately, it's gonna be hard to explain.
I think
What
you'll
the
still
fuck's
be.
what's the CD gonna be when you just close your eyes and you're seeing the things that we're talking about? Like
Well, I'd imagine you can still interact with this format, just like we can interact with VHS on YouTube,
right.
or you can.
that's true. Yeah, we're gonna be super vintage with our whatever our setups are right now. That's
Yeah,
it.
let's
I'm
look
vintage.
archived
You still have an
on the internet.
iPhone 67? Whoa. That still has a touch screen? That's insane. It's integrated into your contact lenses now.
So, I think to start this off, I'm gonna do a bit of a monologue. I'm gonna try not to be too wordy, but I always will be. So I want to introduce the topic for people who haven't seen it. People who are, if our great grandchildren have seen this in the future, they'll be so far ahead of us that I'm gonna have to explain what our current understanding is. And the topic for today's podcast is artificial intelligence. So I just want to briefly introduce what the topic is, what it means to me, and then segue into our first question. So, artificial intelligence, broadly speaking, has been around for several decades. When you talk about machine learning, when you talk about just machines doing a function, you can broadly define it as that and say that it's been happening for dozens, if not hundreds of years. But what I'm talking about is the artificial intelligence of the last, technically since 2017, when Google created its large language model for its from its DeepMind program, and that has been implemented extremely successfully from a company called OpenAI over the last year or so. Large language models have taken off thanks to advancements, exponential advancements as large language models act with neural networks to drive expansive knowledge increases. Technology to create these large language models and these subsequent AI programs have gotten cheaper and cheaper to the point where the entirety of ChatGPT, which I think a lot of people, most people viewing this will be familiar with ChatGPT, cost $60 million to train. With today's technology, given that it's only a year from the time that it was trained, you can do the same exact training for $60,000. So it's becoming more accessible.
Wow.
It's
Is that using ChatGPT?
No, that's using new processing cards, going from NVIDIA to this new. I'll be honest, that's not my area of expertise, but
No, you're good. I just stupid joke, but also I was curious to know
sorry.
what caused the expansion rate. But
it's the processing rate of chips themselves.
nice.
So my experience is I work as an electrical engineer. I work in automation, and sort of the process that I see AI going is that I can see that it can do just about anything. It can do anything that a human can do, and I believe, and I don't think this, I believe it's inevitable that it will do everything that a human can do, and that we will transition over the next 6 months to 60 years to a post-labor economy, and it's going to be the most transformative thing that's ever happened to human beings, for better or for worse. So that's what I believe. I've been making preparations to try to implement AI into my life as much as I can to prepare for that. And I know we've got some differing opinion on panels, and I'm kind of out there with my beliefs. And I learn from you guys every time we do this. I'm mostly talking out of my ass whenever I do this. So I like to get your opinions. And I'll start with that description behind it. I'm sorry for being wordy there. With the first question, which I'll start with Hunter.
Stop worrying about it, man. You're doing great.
You're starting with who?
I'll start with Hunter for this question. It is,
Okay.
when you think about that process that I've just mentioned, that I've said to you guys probably 1,000 times, when you think about the rise of artificial intelligence, are you more excited or worried about it, and why?
You know, I'm a little conflicted on it, right? I have to be a little selfish and say that I'm a little discouraged for the mere fact that, my job can be taken over by AI pretty quickly. That being said, it could be a great thing, and we all want to believe that, having AI do our jobs would be fantastic and lead us to some sort of utopia. But with the leadership that I have seen in the world, not just our own country, and the way that things have gone, I cannot imagine that we could live in a place and a time where that would work. I feel like money fuels too much, and if you can say, the company is making enough money, but there's a man or a board behind that that's pocketing most of it, and they're not going to want to stop, because at the end of the day, these are materialistic types of people, and money matters. So I don't see us getting to a point where me having my job taken by AI could be a good thing. And I guess that's why I have to say that I'm not very excited.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, especially since we've been ingrained. And really, I don't know how much is training versus like what people actually are, is how important work is to them. And so it sounds like
That's such a good point. Like, both of those things are the worry about not having the work anymore, and like whether it's integrated in us or it's just something that we've been taught, or like.
So
Damn.
it sounds like you're saying that for you are more worried than excited, but I think both of us, or everyone here, can see the pros and cons. But you lean more on the worried side because of the instability, because of the change, and because you don't have faith that the people who currently control the system will react well to that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I can see that.
I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't like being a pessimistic person when it comes to this, and I don't want to think that I'm a pessimistic person, but I have to think that I'm more of a realist, right? And just from what I witness every day, I mean, you look at, this is gonna sound so like conspiracy theorist, but I mean, look at Big Pharma, right? we're looking at the prices of insulin in the US, and they're absolutely outrageous. And why? There's absolutely no reason other than the fact that they can charge those prices. You know, you have life-saving drugs and medications that are for no other reason, so expensive just to make money.
See,
And a lot of the policies and everything that pass through our government are, lobbied for by or lobbied by, a lot of these larger companies and everything. As much as you don't want to believe it, most of the things that happen in government's going to be controlled by big business. And I can't imagine us getting to a better spot.
see, I really am excited to hear both. I don't want to poke holes in things, but whenever I get excited, I have to jump in and say that.
That's the point of your questions, man.
So
Yeah.
The problem being that we've got a system that has been built around capitalism. Not saying capitalism is a problem, but saying that the motivation is money, and the problems are coming from the motivation, which is money. And AI is the only thing right now that I can possibly think of that alleviates us from that burden. That eventually money won't be important anymore. And so then
Yeah, but I don't think that people are going to be that far-sighted. I feel like people are going to be so short-sighted, that businesses and business owners and leaders are going to use this as a tool for them to save money, which in turn would generate them more capital or more profit per year. I mean, at the end of the day, all that boils down to these people, I really truly believe, is just the dollar.
you're seeing layoffs right now. You're seeing 17% of Google staff is getting laid off in the next, actually I think it's this year. And that's because of AI. It's the new outsourcing. So I think what I get the most concerned about, and I think that we'd all share this, is the value of money is going to go down eventually to effectively zero. The value of labor is going to go down to effectively zero. And so what controls all of our lives is that relationship. Do they go down at the same time? Does labor go down before money? Does money go down before labor? Because if
labor's obviously going to go down before money.
Yeah, if labor goes down before money and money doesn't catch up eventually or fast enough, that's going to be where the most economic pain comes from. And I do want to. I'll try. I really don't want to talk a ton on this because I know I can be a.
Listen, it's an AI episode. It's it's your episode, man.
So then I do want to pass the question off to you, Alex. Do you feel more optimistic or pessimistic, more worried or excited about a potential AI future, and why?
So, hearing Hunter's answer, and hearing you kind of come at it with are they gonna let go of their place in the working world? Are we gonna, and what happens to us after that? I kind of had a change of answer though midway, because at first I was like, yeah, I'm excited about it because I hate working, I'd love to not have to work, and it was kind of the lazy answer, but I mean, it was backed by like I would just adventure and enjoy my leather craft and all that, but something about being forced to not waste a certain amount of your time makes you a little bit better of a person, because the more time that you waste, the less time that you utilize in a positive manner seems to hinder you in some way, because I feel like I'm dragging, I get more in my head mentally. I really don't know how AI is going to affect the person's like want and need to produce. I mean, honestly, it comes down to the mental aspect of like building and keep fortifying and gaining, not let things take over and just let go of all of your inhibitions or whatever, just so you can succeed. I don't know how that's ever going to exchange, how that change would ever happen, man. That middleman, I don't think our generation will ever gain the like full utilization of AI to what it could be. maybe we will, but our children's and their children's will. And I think that our battle will be completely different than what they have to deal with or be able to integrate with and whatnot. And and our parents' generation fought, or their parents fought in Nam, so things always get a little better and worse, I guess, depending on what happens. But it's always a lot different. It's weird. I didn't expect to change my answer like that because I was pretty stoked about the thought of like integrating into it. But like, I don't know if man would ever let it go, and I think that dealing with that scares me, man.
My whole goal is for my answer to change both your guys' answer. But a really interesting point that you brought up, Alex, is that life gets better. Something I think about the
Thanks, Tyler.
I mean, something I think about a lot is what you said with they're in Nam. 10,000 people had died. 10,000 people died every single day for 4 years during World War II. 10,000 people. That's
insane, dude.
That's like
It is insane.
9/11 happened every single day for 4 years, and we don't have that anymore.
That's true. So where does that energy go? Where would that go if we lived in a utopia and didn't have anywhere to put the energy? Where would we put that? Where would it go? We would explode internally.
What I immediately thought was that Alex was like, "What a waste of energy! We could have burned our bodies. We could have really got some turbines going, boys."
No, that's not what I was gonna say. No, I'm just saying, like, what happens when war's not when they're so. They say war is good for the economy. It just everybody feels more united. But when things are just like normal, we create our own battles and start forcing things upon the people around us to get in arguments about and like small wars about. So like, where does that energy go when everything's perfect? I mean, that is something that's always existed because there's always been different countries. There's always been different I don't know. I mean, you got different tribes. If you want to keep going back far and far, it has to be genetically, ingrained in us at this point. Energy has to go somewhere unless we're just like uploaded. And once we're uploaded, I don't want to be uploaded. That would mean you're existing forever.
I fuck with it.
What happens after that?
After you get uploaded, or you just about
what does that mean? I mean, because that's like AI exists to that point. Because if not, what are we doing?
So I think that's a very good. Is it so hard to imagine this concept of a post-labor economy and where things go? And I think if I want to launch into my answer, if now is a good time,
I would like to hear your answer now.
I want to get you guys excited about this. So, when we talk about technology, I think we normally gravitate towards computers, electronics. That's the technology of our era. But society as a whole is a technology. It's one of our earliest technologies, and it's something that's benefited us massively. It's something that's allowed us to live in structures that we never built for ourselves. Have the trash taken out by some faceless person I've never met. Have water coming to my house. And inherently we consent to be governed to that. There's a lot of negatives that comes with it. We pay, anywhere between 15 to 30% of our income to consent to be governed by people that we don't know, people we don't trust, people we don't like particularly. 50% of them we don't ideologically agree with, depending on your side of the political spectrum. And yet for some reason we say that would be better. This system in which half of people are disenfranchised, it doesn't work for most people. A lot of people are living in poverty. When you talk about globally, you've got immense, tremendous suffering going on around the globe. And it's this technology that we've created that isn't working. And it's society. It's better than what we've had. And the next step of that, I think, is artificial intelligence. It's going to do what we have not been able to accomplish through communism, capitalism, socialism, democracy.
We're no better. We're no better than Romans, man.
Yeah.
If Romans had everything that we have right now and couldn't let go of what they had, and then eventually they were destroyed.
Exactly. And so I think we've built these systems that work, have improved our lives tremendously. But I get very, very excited for the next generations. And I say, yeah, it's hard for me to think about what I would do when I'm not working. But wouldn't I rather that be an option? Wouldn't I rather never have to worry about like the horrible, horrible things that we insulate ourselves from sitting behind a screen and sit there and think that like literally, I think a lot about the terrible, terrible things that happen in the world. I think I'll be like putting Bradley to bed, and then I think how many of the 70,000 people who died in Nagasaki were putting their child to bed whenever they got vaporized? That's something I think about. And we've done terrible, terrible things to each other, ultimately over economic incentives, ultimately over power grabs, ultimately over who's going to be the most effective of the technologies that we consent to be governed by. And why does it matter? It doesn't matter to you, to me, the systems that we put in place to protect ourselves using, societal infrastructure is like, I want my trash to be taken out and not have big old piles of trash. I want to live happily. And in order to have that, I have to, fry babies in Japan in 1943, whenever that was. That's fucking nuts. Like, that's not a good system. And so I think...
So...
Go ahead.
I just feel like what you're talking about is like absolute best case scenario, right? Like realistically looking at it, like do you trust the people in power to think the way that you do? Because
Because they're
that's
the
what
ones
you're
implementing
asking.
the system.
You're asking that these people have your mindset and your drive and what your morals,
So, no, I don't. And I think fundamentally that is not what I'm describing. I'm saying that the system that we have now relies on that, and I don't trust that. Artificial intelligence, the main benefit out of artificial intelligence, how it sits right now, and how I hope that it stays, is that it's purely democratized. It's like 300 lines of code for ChatGPT. Any single person with a computer can run ChatGPT from scratch with no training and train the model. Like, yeah, there's limitations on processing power, and large models are currently only going to be handled by, big businesses. But right, it's tremendously democratized. Plus, bureaucratic institutions like governments are terrible at keeping up with technology. By the time ChatGPT exponentially increases to the point where it can do these sorts of things, like it can run our entire economy, run our entire business, run our entire government, which I'm not saying that's going to be a short time frame by any means, it will be very hard, ideally impossible to control. You talk about it has passed the Turing test. We've talked about it will very, very quickly be smarter than any human being. How can you control a machine to do the bidding of a political figure whenever it's 1,000 times smarter than that? I think it'll just be impossible. So that's what I think, is that we'll turn into the effective intelligence gap between us and artificial intelligence will be that of zookeepers and monkeys. You don't worry about the monkeys controlling the zookeepers, but the monkeys are better.
Dude, I just think, it just
How is
falls
it
into
going
the
to be
matrix so
implemented?
fast. It just like falls into us just being in the matrix as battery cells or something.
So that's where I don't think that's true. I think that all of the problems that we've sort of built up can be solved, and maybe it's a little idealistic, but I don't think that anything that we're doing right now will solve the big problems that I'm worried about in the same way that AI can. Obviously, I'm not going to be naive and say that the AI has no downsides or couldn't lead in like total destruction, but I think that the best chance that future generations have, possibly the only chance that future generations have of like an actual utopia, is artificial intelligence, is the advancements in technology, the advancements in healthcare, the advancements in governments and infrastructure, and this societal technology is, I think, only possible in a realistic time frame using artificial intelligence. And I think I cut you off
I
there,
mean,
Hunter.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I fully agree. It's just
No, yeah.
I don't know. I can't be excited. I'm hopeful about it. I want it to happen. I would love for it to happen more than anything. But realistically, I just cannot imagine it happening that way.
And the question's excited or worried too, not like I mean, you can still be, show
That's what,
interest
that's
in
what I
it,
said.
and still
Like,
be worried
I'm
about it.
hopeful, but
Yeah,
I'm not
I do think
excited.
it's gonna happen no matter what, and I agree with what Tyler's saying that that it seems like the best bet and the best calculated response to all the BS happening around us. But at the same time, it's like, no matter what, if you give men everything they want, there's always going to be greedy men that keep wanting to. And the AI is either going to have two responses that I can think of, like, let them just do their thing and we're going to thrive elsewhere, let them utilize us, them still being humans and being full of error, or they can only have so many children in order for us to thrive like we're thriving and start killing off humans. So do you think that they're going to start killing off humans, Tyler?
I do not, because I don't think
that I don't see.
Yeah, so any sort of resource issue.
We're talking Terminator level at that point. I'm talking 1,000 years. They're murdering humans because you had too many.
I don't think so. Just by nature of being that much more intelligent, any sort of engineering challenge, which is resource scarcity, would not be an issue. It'd be solved with the blink of an eye. There's no reason to get rid of humans because they don't take up that much space. They don't take up that much resources whenever you can engineer.
Just like lab generated type things that are just 3D printed, anything we need at this point.
Or just something that I couldn't even come up with. I think so.
Right. That's just based on what I know on things right now. That's the level that I would think. But at this point, it would just be like, here's this, or here's that.
So something I think about, to play an analogy and sort of say, like, I do get the apprehension and the worry and the anxiety about the future with AI. How to play. Right now, the way I think about it is there's a big old guy with a baseball bat, and he says, if you let me smack you in the face with this baseball bat, I'll give you $5 million. And I'm like, holy shit, that's going to hurt a lot. I don't know how long that's going to hurt for. I hope it doesn't hurt that long. I hope nothing. I hope there is $5 million at the end of this.
I'll take 3.
But I'm going to take this bet because I know it's going to lead to a better life for my family. And maybe I won't have to work anymore. Either through being
So if
disabled.
somebody came up to me and said, I'll give you $5 million if I can hit you with this baseball bat, you know what I would say?
What?
Show me proof. Show me proof you've got the money.
Well,
Show me proof that there's a light at the end of the
Yeah.
tunnel.
I mean, in Tyler's scenario, I just assumed he had the money because, I mean, it's all I'm not going to actually get hit in the head for money, so I just assumed it's probably going to be financially secure.
So there is the proof being that I don't think anyone questions that this future is not possible, like, from a technical standpoint. Like, I don't think anyone says that this is not a possibility. Like, the possibility is there, and if the possibility is there, then what are the barriers to that happening?
Yeah, that's the problem, is like in this generation of different universes and all sorts of stuff, it's like everything is going to happen. It's already happened, so we've already probably done this in a different, dimension or whatever. It's happened an infinite amount of times. So here's the thing. Is it all simulation? That's what I want to know.
It is. It is, in fact. I'll take that segue. That's a...
No, it's not necessarily... Listen,
and I'll take it.
Here's the thing, though. Hunter's trepidation just comes by... It seems like...
It's your trepidation, too. You gotta own it.
I am trying to be middle because I'm not... When I read the first question, I was hoping Hunter was going to be like negative. Obviously, Tyler's positive. He's bursting at the seam with AI, but I wanted to be kind of middle ground. At first I was like, I'm excited for it. And then as soon as Hunter had his first answer, or when you guys had that first like interaction about it, I was like, oh man, it might be negative. Now I'm genuinely worried about it. Like, I don't know how it could ever happen with
I confirm.
humanity the way that it is. I really don't know how humanity would ever make it that far. That's not the question. The question is the way that you're posing it is if it's going to be implemented no matter what, would I be worried about it or not be worried? Because despite my worry, it's still going to happen. And if my worry is it's going to happen, I don't know what my answer should be. Because like the worry is the things that come with it, and the worry is like all the things that come up to it being perfect for our next generation or whatever, you know. But my worries, maybe they're too selfish because I don't have a child. Maybe the self-preservation of my own bloodline isn't that great or something like that. But my own worry is like I enjoying what I have right now, and that's like a crazy. I don't think that humanity as it stands would ever let it implement. Like people bomb because a government says things about a religion, or like people are crazy about that kind of thing.
Yeah, we have
About that implication, and that seems. But I'm also excited for it for other reasons than we're coming down the
Tyler,
line.
you lose round one.
I do lose.
I don't
round
think
one.
you. I don't know, man.
So I think
I do think he does round one.
where it's inevitable, and I do believe it's inevitable, and where things are inevitable, I think it's always better to be optimistic, and so I try to focus. Like, there's obviously the negatives, but I think
Yeah.
that the negatives are worth the positive, and I think that ultimately, I mean, there is a lot of bad, but I think that the good is worth it. But I will.
You're a pretty overall statistical, analytical type of person, though, and that's why I respect your answering, because it makes me feel like things aren't completely lost because percentages are percentages, you know.
You know what's funny? When I talk about AI with other people, I take on a more positive outlook, and I do
Yeah.
tend to give them all of the cons.
Yeah.
But like when I present it in a way of like this is what AI could be, right? And again, I think that shows where I'm hopeful of what it is. I'm like AI could lead to utopia. It could be this amazing thing. But when I'm talking to you guys, and I know you want me to talk, well, you want me to talk about how I like really feel about it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty apprehensive. I'm worried to what will happen with it.
That's exactly right, man. I like this platform for us too, because the things that I truly feel like, I mean, I'm excited for things, and I'm going to talk about things that I'm excited about with people, but I still like have trepidation and like worry about the same things. Doesn't mean I'm not excited for it, but the worry might outweigh it for like things I feel on a personal level.
I feel that I've foregone, some things, made some sacrifices in order to focus on money. I save as much as I can, I invest as much as I can, and I'm sitting here saying that I realistically believe that money will go to zero at some point. And I think every day about $1 that I invest today is worth $21 when I'm retired. But I'm also sitting here saying, and like that's my primary motivator, but I'm also sitting here saying that I think that it's worth it for all of that to go to zero to get on the other side of this thing. Because, I don't know, I think that it's worth that. I'll be pissed off. I'll be a little pissed off for sure. Like, gosh, if I got cancer and like died before I got to use all this money, well, not all this money, but before I got to retire, I will be annoyed. Like, I'll do it, I'll die, but I will be annoyed. So I'll move to my next question.
On that happy note, let's
So my next question, we've kind of touched on it here, and I like that simulation question. I'm definitely gonna have to wrap around to that because I'm curious about your guys' opinion. But how do you think AI will affect the way our government functions, the United States government functions? So will the government be more or less important to people? And what is the function of government in a post-labor economy? I'll start you off with Alex.
So this is where I switched. This is where I kind of started negative and then worked my way positive the more that I thought about the question, which is kind of cool. Which kind of means that I'll be 50-50 maybe by the end of this, depending on where it goes. But I kind of think that AI might be good for government. I think that that's one of the places where we'll see it implemented the very first. As far as like how it's affecting the majority's daily lives, I think that it's going to be. I think the government will be the first place that it sort of penetrates into the everyday life. So I think it actually is going to be pretty good because, like you've said, it's pretty middle ground about things. Democratic as far as like the I don't know how it would be implemented in other countries. That's also kind of a barrier, But I'll start with just our country and kind of think about how we're fuck. But you have to assume that it's not going to be corrupt on every level, and that's hard for me to swing it positive. But I can only hope AI will kind of come out on the level of the democratic, what's best for the people in the moment or whatever sort of answer. I saw an article about, I think it was in Rio de Janeiro. It was a bill that got passed about if a person's water meter gets stolen out of their yard, they do not have to pay the city to have it replaced or anything like that. They don't get fined for it. The city will have to then have some sort of insurance policy. But anyway, the bill was written by AI. They used ChatGPT in order to write this bill. It got passed. It was like the second draft that got turned in for it. Got passed by whatever, but it was implemented. And that was like one of the first instances of ChatGPT or any sort of AI being used to implement law. And it's a little bit different because a person still had to okay it, but it was so passable that it is able to sway things like that. And that sort of thing makes me, I saw that article, I was like, oh, hey, like a real life, implementation of this AI thing that, I see like cool technology things, but then something like that, I'm like, this honestly might end up working out for us if it keeps being utilized properly, and then the back end, if it's chosen by AI and written by AI, what happens then?
So, I'm sort of curious, since I feel like you guys have a good mix here of political ideology. I was currently very bipartisan, more so than I think in the past, with conservative and liberal. I'm curious, seeing as conservative is more pro small government, pro not less entitlements, less welfare programs, and liberal is more what can the government do for you, in theory. How do you think political parties will change as AI becomes more commonplace? Let's say specifically for the government, as AI starts absorbing government jobs and becoming more of a tool for government, how do you think political ideologies are going to change? Is it going to be manipulative towards the human population to try to curry favor in a political system? Or is it going to do the opposite, and is it going to become more homogenous?
Let her rip.
Let her rip, Beyblade.
Beyblades.
Everything's going to be decided by Beyblade tournaments. That'd be wild. I could see that.
That would be wild. AI directed Beyblade tournaments. That's insane. Hunter, you actually got to answer though.
I do.
I mean, I just do you want like my full answer to this question?
Yeah, we can jump into it.
Okay. So I completely disagree with Alex, 100%, right? And so I'm just gonna jump into the whole AI writing the bill thing, right? While I do think that is pretty cool for right now, I also know that politicians are sneaky, shifty bastards. And how many things do they try to pass through and sneak through in bills, and hidden away somewhere? And what happens when we start using AI to create, something verbose that, I mean, it could be confusing somewhat to read, to the point where we can, you have parties passing certain things into law that nobody caught because AI was too smart and wrote it in such a way that it was just missed, right? I mean, that's definitely a fear of mine. And we have people 20 years over the retirement age still in government. How quick are we actually to make new things and implement new things. I mean, fuck the IRS, their website has gotten the most updates in the past, like, probably 5 years that it's had in its whole lifetime. I mean, it's just, I disagree that we're going to see it in the government first. I don't think that it's going to be a good thing for government. I think it's going to be a tool used to, get one over on the other party. I don't think it's going to end well.
It seems like
So to talk on that, sorry Tyler, real quick, let me get this out before I forget about it. But to kind of expand on that, where Tyler said that he leans more center now than he's ever. I'm maybe just a hair right of center, just a little bit right of center, a couple things, but I mean, socially, very liberal about most things in my life. But landing on that small government, the implementation for AI in small government seems to be what I was kind of getting at, is that that's the place where you're probably going to see it first. In my life, if I'm not going out, exploring the AI universe or something, I mean, the small town government's going to be implemented by those things still. It is going to happen for a lot of people, which is the majority of people live in places like that, kind of spread out, not like in the, I mean, this new Apple Vision Pro thingy that just came out. Like, that's what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of the AI. It's like these Quest VR goggles, AI is running everything, and you're just like living in this goggle utopia. But like, you still have to pay your bills. You still have to walk out, go down the road, pay, get groceries, order food, have a job in order to buy these things. And I think that local government, just like in this article, and this is more of a question of like I don't want to get off topic of what I was kind of getting at there, but I just meant like the small government aspect seems like what I was getting at, and I think that seems like it will be implemented quicker. But Tyler, go ahead and say what you were going to say. I'm sorry, I got way off topic there, but
no, that was super on topic. That was going to be my question.
Okay.
And it was fair to Hunter that he put it on the national scale, because I sort of put that, I think, where partisan politics plays the most is in the national scale. But I've shared, Alex, and your sentiment for local government. So whenever Hunter's saying that it's going to be used for these big things, these big national sweeping bills, and that's going to make it a bad thing, I could see that and I can agree. But I think that the utility for AI is going to be in smaller municipal governments doing bureaucratic things that are terribly, mundane. People don't want to do the job. The only reason they would do the job is because of pension benefits or some benefit of government service. But it's not a fulfilling job. It can be performed more efficiently, better by AI, and it will be. And I think that I can say that it will be. It won't be across the entire country immediately, but there will be counties. There could be some random county ran by a mayor in Kansas that says, okay, my nephew is a software developer, and he tells me about this GPT chat, and we're going to use it for our municipal water system.
Yeah, but you're just talking about more layoffs then. How is that good for people?
So layoffs in the government and the public sector, I think, is much better than layoffs in the private sector.
But I feel like a lot of these jobs that you're seeing that are going to be...
But we're talking about two different things here, though, because the first question was about whether you were excited or worried about it, and the second question was about like the utilization and what was the second question exactly? What you asked us, Tyler?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, give me the question again.
Question is, how do you think it was a little tricky to me? It was a two-part.
Not the second question, but is that the second thing you asked, or was it off topic?
So, what I just asked. Is. Well, I guess I said a statement that I think that it will be much more effective in smaller government, and that it's going to result in a more efficient government, because yes, there will be public sector layoffs.
Okay.
And I think that those jobs just are not well suited for people. I think that it is mundane in the point where it increases human error. I know from working in the Navy that there's a number of tasks that once they become so mundane, you have to scale up the error factor. As high as like 10% on some tasks. when they become that mundane.
Really?
That's the
Yeah, that's
transcription.
crazy.
Yeah, transcription in the government, like writing logs from another log, is the least efficient method or least reliable method for transcription because of the error rate, because of how mundane it is. So, is it worth it to me to see layoffs in the public sector, which means, yes, less income into the economy, but also, in theory, because obviously the government's not going to spend less money just because they'll still collect the whole thing, less taxes. And I think that one of the benefits of AI, and again, one of the things that has to happen with you talk about that value of money and value of labor have to sort of track close enough to where there's not some societal collapse, is, I believe, because what I can see, or what I think can happen and hopefully will happen for manufacturing, for the economy, and for government, is that the productivity increases are going to yield a deflationary environment, which we're not used to, which is where the value of goods goes down, effectively making the value of money go up, which is something we never do. It's something we don't want as an economy because it de-incentivizes investments. But whenever you talk about, suffering on the lower class, it's fantastic. You talk about a deflationary environment, sure, your 401k is going to perform terribly, but now you've got less people who are starving in the streets. Is that worth it? Yeah, I think so.
No, I'm not gonna ask because it's completely off topic.
I'm here for it.
I guess I agree.
I think
that,
you should, yeah.
Yes, local government will benefit, but at the extent of people's jobs and livelihoods.
But what is more important? Because it's a very good point. Is people's jobs and livelihoods? Right now, we're at the lowest unemployment rate that we've seen in 60 years. There are jobs out there for people. Is it more important that whenever you go to the DMV, it's not intrusive, the fees that you pay are lower, and that you can participate more in the private sector, which actually yields an output when it comes to gross domestic product and when it comes to the community you live in, than having to interface with this bureaucratic institution that exists out of necessity? Like, people who work in the public sector are important. They're doing things that need to be done. But if they didn't need to be done by people, it's not like they're useless and they're just going to go die. They can be useful in a different capacity, someplace that benefits society more than that thing that just had to be done.
And the hope is that by that point, AI will have constructed a different job for them or something, opportunity to help maintain their ability to function or something, right?
If AI does that, then AI can probably just do that job too.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point, is that it takes over everything at that point. It's just the middle section when there's 50 years when the implementation is supposed to happen. I guess from Tyler's perspective, he's just assuming all of that's going to go well and everything's going to go perfect until it's implemented, right?
Right.
I'm not assuming that. I'm worried about that. But whenever you talk about, I don't know, because the
overall importance in whether or not it's good or bad, too. I mean,
so the way that the United States government has navigated the COVID pandemic, the response to the COVID pandemic, from an economic perspective and the inflationary environment that came from it, there was pain. There were a lot of people who got hurt. There's people right now who are getting hurt. There's people who are financially unstable because of it. But overall, the United States has performed better than the majority of other countries in the same situation. We've managed a very difficult situation. We've done it, we jumped, 20% inflation, from 2% to 20% inflation in 4 months. The largest jump that we've ever seen. And now we're back to 3% relatively steadily without any sort of chaos and craziness like you'd see in other countries like Zimbabwe. I mean, that's a crazy example. I shouldn't use that one. But that's the sort of what I would hope, is that you'd have enough systems in place where if you did have to scale and you had to do a 50-year transition period to a post-labor economy, you could say you'd start with the public sector. You're going to yield the gains from the public sector, from efficiencies, and then it's going to make government more agile and more responsive. And then, obviously, you're going to have the problem of people entering the workforce from the public sector, going to the private sector, driving down wages. You've got to respond to that. It's much better to do public sector first, then private sector, than to do private sector and have the public sector effectively be impotent in response to these crazy productivity gains or this crazy labor response. So that's where I come from, is, and that's touching on just one section, is like the government on a macro scale to how society changes. But what I was really curious about the question was, with it being an election year, how is it going to, like, one, conservatives, and the argument the conservatives make, which is that government should be small, should be local. I like that part, but gets completely shit on whenever everyone's saying, okay, I don't have a job, AI took my job, what the fuck do you mean government needs to be small? I need to survive. You're the only thing that I have left. So if the conservative side of political ideology doesn't change dramatically, it's gone forever. Like, there's not going to be
I don't think it's going to.
Yeah, there's not
Have
going
you
to be
met-
like, oh, we don't need regulations, oh, we don't need, which is good for now. There's a complete, it makes sense to make that argument. I think it's a valid political opinion. But when nobody has a job and everybody is relying on the only thing that's left, which is the government, it flies in the face of that. And as that starts to ramp up and that argument becomes, I'm just curious how these political parties are going to change. I don't think Democrats are perfect or able to function the way that they need to handle that. But I know for a fact that the conservative side, the libertarian side particularly, not just the conservative, libertarian, gets face fucked by that argument.
Yeah, that's more super libertarian than like, you know, I mean, unless you're talking like far right, but
Yeah, I'm
at that
talking about
point
the
you're
far
pretty
right.
much, yeah, you're talking, you know, that's always such a concern too. is we've seen local governments fail, and that's why you have these completely methed out areas in West Virginia and stuff like that, because the local government and everything, the infrastructure for that area is and hopefully AI fixes all of that, you know.
Flint, Michigan is fine, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, you still can't drink their water.
What are you talking about?
That's
This is
what it
Flint,
is right
Michigan water,
there.
and it's not even that dirty.
Yeah, I've got some Flint, Michigan water right here in this Powerade bottle.
Is that piss? Please tell me that's piss.
Is that pissed, Alex?
It was from 5 minutes ago while Tyler was monologuing.
Really?
You didn't even notice, did you?
Drink it.
No way.
Dude.
So, I think AI when it
I'm
comes
sorry.
to government, I think it is a very
Is
interesting.
anyone watching the live stream? I gotta
I
ask.
really hope somebody watches at some point.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. If AI what?
I think. I'll segue for the simulation question. Would it matter if it was a simulation?
No, because if it had a percent to be a simulation, then the chances are that it is a simulation, so it really doesn't matter. It can't matter because it is a simulation, if it is even a possibility. If you're asking me about whether or not, like, I worry about it being a simulation or something, does it matter? I mean, yes, because, like, what are the cheat codes, you know?
What if we're a part of a simulation being run by an AI model right now?
Yeah. Or, like,
That
each
model is just
individual...
so complex.
Yeah, each model has its own, like, you know, person that's running it. I mean, it's not a person, but
So
I don't know, man. The
something
individuality aspect of it freaks me out.
I've always thought that it doesn't fucking matter. If it's a simulation, it's a simulation. Literally doesn't matter. I never think about it. And then I saw something kind of profound, and I'm not going to do it justice by trying to describe it, but it was I was scrolling and lolling and saw a picture of this mouse that had gotten fried on an electrical circuit breaker. Like, pretty gruesome. I mean, but it's something that happens pretty often for electricians. But the text on it was that effectively that the mouse died suddenly, brutally, without warning, due to circumstances completely out of its understanding.
Oh
It
god.
didn't do anything wrong. It couldn't have possibly, like, it was designed to have never had the capacity to understand what was happening to it. and just this brutal, terrible thing happened to it for effectively no reason. And it makes you think, what could we get ourselves into that would be identical? What sort of like simulation turns off?
You don't know.
You don't know. Is it worth worrying about it? No. Unless I feel terrible that Hunter's like, I've had this reprieve from anxiety that has empowered me and improved my life. And I sat down here and I said, so anyways, you're going to lose your job and die.
That's so true.
Stressed out about
Oh,
it.
that's a hilarious
I'll be
segue.
sure to pop another right after this.
Damn, that's hilarious.
I'm sorry. So anyways, last question. I've had terrible segues this whole time. I fucking
It's
love
okay. Hunter has his service pussy.
That's right.
Go ahead.
My last question. One, I like your stand-up idea a lot. I'm gonna work on that for the next
Okay.
one.
A couple weeks. I mean, like we don't have a deadline for the next episode, so let it rip.
So we talk. I talk all the time. I think we talk a good bit about these hypotheticals for what AI will be, what AI will do, what the future is going to look like. I'm curious how or if you expect AI to affect your life, and when do you think it's going to happen? What do you think is going to be the catalyst to say, "Oh shit, that like this is actually happening. This is something that really affects me." And I guess I can start since we did this. Obviously, I've intentionally put myself in that space, so it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy there, where I have pursued learning about AI as much as I could. I use it to increase my workflow productivity. I use it to help with school. I use it to help for my business. So it's extremely pervasive for my life. And I think that right now, it's not that obvious. I don't know if it's that obvious to everyone, but there are layoffs happening. And layoffs happen every year, and it's normal, but layoffs are particularly impacting the financial sector, the technology sector, the administrative sector, all sectors that are particularly benefited by artificial intelligence. And I think that, and I plan on investing in companies that see decreased stock values due to layoffs. I personally think that we are seeing today the impact of AI, and I think that the layoffs that we're seeing now are going to continue and get worse over the next few years, and it's directly related to AI is what I think. So that's my answer.
Well, okay. Well, no, I guess I think AI is negative now. Thank you, Tyler, for finalizing that side. Hunter, I agree with you about everything.
No, damn it, it's still good.
Tyler, you
Come on.
lose.
People are losing their job because
You know,
stop it.
Honestly, this is actually the part where I can be a little optimistic, right? I think in my lifetime, for me, AI will be a tool. I don't think it will be something that will take my job in my lifetime. At least, I don't think, my company would implement it. Mostly because I see how not tech savvy we are. We don't update anything in this place, so.
Yeah.
That being said, I think that I can use it as a tool in my job. I think that it can definitely help me, help the company, and I think that I will see benefits from it.
I think that the three of us benefit from being high-performing, intelligent people, and so I think that we will weather the storm that is AI, at least for the rest of our lives, of our working lives.
Yeah.
I think that.
Well, I think we're always going to be able to communicate with whatever the interface is that's spitting it back at us. I think that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I definitely agree with you, and I think I get far ahead of myself sometimes. Like, yeah, AI could do this crazy, terrible takeover in 5 years, but I think more realistically, we'll continue to learn with AI as it goes. We'll be crotchety old men that don't understand the new technology, but at that point,
Yeah.
we'll be retired.
Yeah.
So
It's Cooper from Interstellar when he gets back on the ship after getting rescued in the very end, and he wakes up in this thing. He's like, He's like, oh, they named it after me. Like, no, they named it after your daughter. It's like, we're gonna be like, I remember when I first used this to weigh out my toilet water in outtake, something like that, and people are like, Grandpa, it's okay. You can fly away now. People are just floating, and I don't know. It's gonna be crazy by that time, but I agree that I think that we're always gonna be able to implement it, man. I think we're us, specifically, but the businesses that we work for, I think that we've all sort of gone with the generational growth sort of versions of where we could have gone, which is kind of a cool thing to be a part of. Marketing, sales, whatever, implementation of electrical work, creating new pieces and parts, and all of the tooling selection and all of the integration of the technology into that. Those are all huge AI things, right? How could, in our life, it's got to at least be cool, like to sit back and watch it happen. It is going to be scary, but I just wonder at what point is it infiltrating, because it's going to be infiltrating, right? It's going to be super infiltrating before it becomes like a utopia thing. There has to be some sort of downfall then rise. I don't see it happening any other way. Despite us growing with the technology as a civilization, I don't think that it, I'm not going to be able to afford the infrastructure to maintain whatever it is that I'm doing as a livelihood by myself. If I lose my job and it gets taken over somewhere else larger in the city that I work in, just shuts down, I hope that doesn't happen in our generation. I think in ours, it's going to be pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that.
I think we will be the generation that kind of use it as a tool before it's actually, really widespread implemented.
Yeah, before it starts creating in its own terms.
Well, just before, companies really do catch on and start actually eliminating jobs and things like that.
Yeah, I think our generation, I thought about this the other day. Our generation's going to be super big on utilizing AI to make it seem like they're doing their job. I think that's going to happen a lot. I think that there's probably already, I would like to know the numbers, right? Thousands of people that do their job by just using AI, like coding prompts, whatever,
So
cybersecurity.
So there has been a crescendo to this whole thing. There's a reason this was my last question. And as a reminder, my last question is, when do you expect AI to affect your life, and when do you think it will happen? I'm going to remind you guys, it's going to happen right now. Because last night, what I went and did is I took images of both of you from your social media profiles.
Oh, God.
And I generated...
Oh, my gosh!
And I can't show this on the podcast, but I generated...
my Discord.
A deep fake gay porno.
No, you didn't.
And so I want you guys to take a look at this once I open. Let me get the
You have to drop it in the Bacon and Eggs podcast Discord channel, the private one, not the open one. Tyler is typing. I'm so excited.
Okay.
Oh, it's on Imager?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. I didn't think they could show
Don't say anything yet. Don't say anything yet, Hunter. Okay, I'm pasting it. All right, I'm going to hit enter, right?
I haven't even copied it yet.
I'm sorry. Let me know, and I'll hit it at the same time as you.
I'm zooming in on your reactions.
All right, you ready to hit enter?
Yep.
Let's do it.
404 not found.
Yeah, it got taken off, my guy.
It was Rickroll.
Just take
God damn it. It was just a Rickroll link. Well.
Oh my God.
Okay, well.
Well, there's the
Thank
lamest end of the
God.
podcast ever. I was really.
What a crescendo, Tyler.
Fuck.
Oh man, if only AI could have taken care of that, huh?
Oh no, AI would have made that a perfect cut. You know that there's already being AI implemented to like editing software, and they'll edit podcasts and stuff. I think we've talked about that. It's really
you
cool.
Make them into shorts and shorter YouTube
Which
videos.
we should definitely do.
We should. Well, we got
It'd be really cool.
all of them up. We can do it. We can come.
We have a lot of material, like this
Yeah.
fun little tidbits. We got to get a studio cabin somewhere.
Studio cabin?
Yes.
And a couple times a year, we have to go to this cabin and do a live episode there.
I'm down.
It'd be very
I'm
fun.
down.
I like the idea.
Nothing fancy, just fun for the boys. I'll even hike to this cabin, but we'll have to do it a couple times really harshly in order to have a live podcast.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was my episode, guys.
I loved it, man. That was a
That was
great
really
episode.
fun. Yeah. You had me just like teeter tottering, both sides the entire time. I was like,